So guys, Phainon here. So today we're gonna be looking for the best teammates for Phainon, and it's more like a small tier list, but you can literally use everybody on this tier list. But some are just way better just because they provide a lot for Phainon. In general, you want harmony units or units that can generate him a lot of core flames, so he can enter his ult fast. So that's the base idea. You simply want to run, character that can give him core flames and give him decent buffs. So mostly you can run harmony units because they're the best at doing both. So yep. So that's out of the way. So let's go. Let's go with the best options you have, being Sunday and Bronya. So these two will be your best 5-star options for the moment, unless Rada drops in next patch, and if she has some really good synergy, then she can also be there. But for the moment, Sunday and Bronya should be your best bet, because both of them are really good at giving single target buffs, and they're good at generating a decent amount of core flame because of their action forward ability will come in clutch as well. So it's really good. Phainon gets a lot value from both of them in case of buffs and in case of generating core flames for him. So really good. You're mostly going to use both of them in his team. The only problem you'll run into is probably going to be skill point, but as long as you play safe, you should be fine, in my opinion. So this should be your best option most of the time. So if you don't have them, then you have to rely on the other units, but if you have them, build them, prepare for your Phainon, so they can, Phainon can go all in. Now, let's go about Tribi. Tribi is probably going to be your third harmony most of the time. If you guys don't know how Phainon works, you mostly want to run a no-sustain team because he's pretty easy to run no-sustain team, in my opinion. So you're not going to run any healers or shielders most of the time. So for the third stream, you're going to probably use Tribi. Main reason is you're using Tribi for her buffs, not for the core, not for the core flame. You're not going to get that much core flames for Phainon. I think you're going to get maybe one for the whole rotation. So she's there for her buffs, and her buffs are really solid. So I think she's a good option. If you have Tribi, you can use her. But at the same time, you could use her on other teams. So you can also better use her on other teams to, to get more value out of her, because she's very good on HP scalar teams or even the Herda teams. She's way better. So for the second half, I would rather use her. But if you want to use her on a Phainon team, yes, she's good. But personally, I'm going to be honest as hell, I would rather use Tribi on any other team than Phainon teams. But because of how broken her buffs are, she's also good in this team. So yes, you could use Tribi. She is a good option. Sparkle is also the same scenario. She's also a good option. She's not good as Sunday or Bronya, but she is still good. She is also really good at giving you action forward. Not 100%, but that 50% action forward is really good. I think the best part about her is just having that skill points. You're not going to run out of skill points, so that's really good for Phainon, because Phainon is a skill spammer, right? So he will run out of skill points a lot fast, but having her ult is really good. Plus, I think she's also really good at using DDD, so you could use DDD because once you enter Phainon's ultimate, you cannot do much, right? You're kind of stuck there because you cannot end this ult fast early or anything, and he has a fixed speed, so yeah, DDD value is pretty good, especially so you can get a second turn for your team. So able to use DDD is actually good. Tribi is also really good at using DDD. I think Tribi is the best DDD user, so in that regard, she's also really a nice pick. Now, so no, you better use Silverwolf on other teams because she's not that good. So better use on other teams like Akron team, even with freaking Archer. I think she's way better. Using her on a team like Phainon is kind of pointless, mainly because of her debuff won't last too long, because Phainon can only snapshot buffs, not debuffs. The debuffs depends on the enemy's action forward, and I think Phainon's counterattack actually gives enemy action forward, so you're technically gonna lose the debuff even faster. So yeah, you don't want to use Silverwolf with Phainon. Just use it on other teams that you get very better value. Tinyon is going to be just the best. So most of the time you want to use Tinyon as your third slot, Or if you don't have any of these two, like if you don't have Sunday or you're missing Bronya, because not everybody is gonna have Sunday and Bronya, right? She's gonna be your third best option for core generation. I mean, you're gonna get two core flames off the back just because of her skill alt combo, and she can also increase Phainon speed, give him crazy nice amount of buffs, and she can also run DDD. So really good. She's probably your best FTP option. So yeah, build Tingyon because you need Tingyon. Especially if you're a new player and you don't have either of them and you're not gonna go for either of them, Tingyon is gonna be your best option. And the good thing is Phainon banner does have Tingyon, so you don't need to worry too much. You just need one copy. Of course, E6 Tingyon is really good because you can get one turn ults. I think you can get the ult straight off the back because of the energy and everything. But yeah, Tingyon is still good. Even if you get one copy of her, just use it because you kind of need it. You kind of need her, okay? Trailblazer gonna be like here. Same thing with the Tribby and like, you know, freaking Sparkle and everything. She's good. Unfortunately, she doesn't. The only thing you're using her for is for the true damage buff from the mem, and that's it. But because of her action advance, that is good because you can, you know, play around that. But otherwise, she's not like a must-have like, you know, Sunday or Bronya in my opinion. But if you don't have them, she's gonna be your third best, you know, action advancer. But I'm still gonna put on the good tier because if you have Sunday and Bronya, it's better to use her on some other team, like Castro's team, for example, because you get more value there rather than on a Phainon team. But yes, the true damage will stay in for the whole duration of Phainon also. It is still good. So I'm not gonna say it's like bad. Yes, if you're a Trailblazer, Harmony, I mean, remember as an RNC, just use it. Especially if you don't have Sunday and, you know, Bronya, her value does go up. So yes, she is a good option. But not as good as, you know, the other three in my opinion. Now Yukong. I can't believe it, but yes, she is actually a really good option as well. Like this is, I think, the first time I'm seeing, I have to be so happy because Yukong is actually usable with a freaking DPS without speed tuning too much for once. Like, and I'm happy because I can finally use my Yukong. I have a freaking E6 Yukong. I built it like probably like 2 years ago. When she dropped, I built it on day one. But I just couldn't use it with any team because she's so annoying. But now I can finally use her and I can use her to the fullest. You still need to do a little bit of speed tuning for Phainon to get the full buff, especially the attack and buff. But her ult, if you have an E6, I think it's like a point click. So you just click it, you get the buff, you get a crazy 30 to 30 crit rate and 60 crit damage or 70 crit damage, something like that. It's really good. Her value, especially Yukong's value, goes up high if your Phainon has bad relics. If you don't have high crit rate or crit damage, Yukong can fix that. It's really good. So yes, Yukong is playable. I'm not gonna say she's the best. She is still one of the better one, just because like her downside is the skill points, right? You're gonna spam way too much skill point in my opinion. So you need to watch out for your skill points when you're using Yukong, especially if you're gonna use her with Sunday and Bronya. You have to watch really carefully, especially if you don't have an E1 Bronya, then you will be in a little bit of trouble, or you need to rely on RNG. So just keep that in mind. But yes, Yukong is really good option for Phainon. And now Ruame, again, same with all these AoE buffers. You know what? For that case, I'm also gonna put freaking Robin. Same thing. They're good, but they're gonna be your third slot mostly. They're not gonna be your primary slot. These units on the good tier mostly gonna be your third slot rather than your primary slot. So with Robin especially, you can do a trick where you just use all your characters, and just before using Phainon's ult, you can just action out with the whole team, so you get one turn for free technically after Phainon's ult ends. It's a pretty cool trick. I think only Robin can pull this off without, you know, crazy relics or crazy team setup. So yes, that's one good thing about Robin. But like I said, she's only gonna help you with one core flame, but the rest you have to rely on units like Sunday and freaking I can't even remember her name, Bronya. So it's like it's like last resort, not last resort. They're good, but they're not like the best options. But yes, these team buy buffers are good as long as you know what you're doing. Now again, the sustainer should be last resort. Let's just be honest. The sustainer should be last resort mainly because their main, you don't need sustainer most of the time, unless you're a new player. Then yes, I can see using a sustainer, but otherwise you don't need it. As long as you have 3 harmonies, really good build, they should at least tank 1 hit from the enemies and you're good to go. But Huoho can be situational just because her ult does regen. And if I'm not wrong, Link's skill should give you 1 core flame because it's like a buff. I think it increases the user's HP, so this should give you a skill point as well. I mean the core flame. So it should give you 1 stack of core flame. But I'm not sure because well, I didn't get to test it, so I have to wait on this. But yes, if I had to choose an F2P option, I would rather choose Link's just because of the. I think her skill will give up core flame, and she's pretty decent at healing. I mean, she's not the best at healing, but you barely need any healing for the Phainon team. So yes, there should be last resort. In my opinion, any sustainer should be a last resort. Like literally. Yeah, Cypher is gonna be situational. Now, the only time you even gonna think about using Cypher is when you have these 2 on your team. Like if you have Sunday Bronya, that's the only time you're gonna use Cypher. Otherwise, you're not gonna use Cypher whatsoever. Because Cypher doesn't give you any stacks. You're only using Cypher for the debuff because she gives you debuff when she's on the team. That's the only reason you're using. And plus, she can stack a lot of coins and do big PP damage. After Phainon exits his freaking ultimate, so yeah, you can use that too. But mainly, you want to have Bronya and Sunday. Otherwise, you're never going to use Cypher. And yeah, Cypher doesn't have too many good teams, so you can just use her as a last resort if you have her. Again, last resort, she's a sustainer. She gives 1 core flame if you use skill. But most of the time, you're not going to use her skill. You're only going to get her freaking buff from her, I think her talent. I think she gets 10 crit rate. So if you have a bad crit rate or anything, yes, you can use Fushuan, but you barely needed Fushuan in my opinion. But yes, you could use Fushuan skill. Like I said, her skill will give you 1 core flame, but most of the times you're not going to use their skill because of how Phainon works. But well, she's decent, and because Fushuan is not in a good situation, you're not going to use her on other teams as well. So technically, you can put her on a with a Phainon team if you have her and get some value. Hani is the same. She should be a last resort. I think she's the 1 harmony unit I will not build for Phainon unless you don't have any other characters. Because Phainon's banner does have a Yukong and a freaking Tinyon, you will never use her technically, even for an F2P team. So yeah, you only build her and use her on Phainon team if you like her. So yeah. And Hayaya and Jiaochu are just better on other teams. I just don't think it's worth using them on a Phainon team. So yeah. And if I'm missing any, let me check if I'm missing any buffers because I am technically blind sometimes. So you could use Gallagher if you want skill points, but I won't recommend Gallagher at all. So yeah, I think that's it. That's the best teammates for freaking Phainon. Off now. Like I said, Sirara could drop in and be the best in slot, but until then, this is gonna be the best team for Phainon. Teammates for Phainon. Main character should be Sunday, Bronya. If you have them, build them. They're the best units for Phainon, and you probably use both of them on his team. Tinyon is probably your best F2P option besides RMC. Tribi and the others could be the 3rd harmony slot, but it's situational. I would rather use Tribi on other teams just because of how good she is. But yes, if you want to use Tribi on a Phainon team, yes, you could use it. Like I said, sustainers are all situational or last resort. You don't need them most of the time. The only time you use them is when you're dying, and if you're using the sustainers, I would recommend these 3 sustainers over the others just because they can at least give you 1 core flame and they can also keep your team alive. So they give some value rather than no value. So yeah. And the debuffers and the others, I think they're better on other teams. There's no reason to use them on a Phainon team in my opinion. So yep, these are the best teammates for Phainon, and I hope this video helps you guys. And if you did, leave a like, and that's all I'm asking. So have a great day, be safe out there, and see you guys on another video. So bye guys, have a great day.